New Japan has set up all types of upcoming events, which are going to be crazy. And given how everything has been going this year, is Evil going to be able to continue on being the top of the mountain here in New Japan? What's up, everybody? Eric here from That's Wrestling. Thanks for tuning in. We will be covering all types of New Japan, from basically going back to the 24th up until today. So we have all types of stuff to cover. If you are watching this on YouTube, we do this as a podcast. You can snag it on all your favorite podcast apps. But if you're listening as a podcast, we do this show live over on YouTube. So head over to the YouTube channel. The link is in the show notes. And if you make sure to hit that bell notification, it will let you know as soon as I schedule a live stream. Because especially with New Japan, it moves around because they don't have a set schedule. Be sure to head over to iTunes and drop us a review. And beyond that, I think that covers it for the most part. So today I have Josh Luna. What is up, man?
What is up? The ceiling of my basement, that is up. That is what's up.
Well, you sound good. Did you upgrade your sound?
Yeah, this is like my second episode I've been working with the Yeti, so
excellent. So yeah, like guys, we're talking a little bit before the show, and we're just gonna cover a lot of the highlights. We're not gonna go heavily match by match because we got a ton of matches to talk about, but we're gonna talk about Sengoku Lord. We're going to talk about the Lions Break Collision shows, and we're gonna definitely talk about a lot of the upcoming stuff with Summer Struggle. Especially, they announced they're going to be doing a show at a baseball stadium in Nagoya. It's going to be at the Jingu Baseball Stadium, so that is going to be very interesting, and we have a lot of announcements going into that. So let's get some of the smaller stuff out of the way. Let's start with the Lions Break Collision shows. For the most part, the whole story of this pretty much came down to highlighting Carl Fredricks. He is now graduated from the Young Lions program, and he will be going off doing, I'm not sure, because now with COVID and all that fun stuff, he can't be sent anywhere at the moment. So I don't know if he's going to excursion somewhere, or if he is going to stay within New Japan, similar to, I believe, Tanahashi did not go on excursion. He was one of those types of guys. So we will see how that turns out. Basically, the first night, right at the beginning, we had Carl Fredericks talking to Kevin Kelly, and that he has now graduated from being a young lion, and it's time for him to strike out and start making a name for himself. He has changed his look. He is not in the classic young lions garb anymore. And during the match, he teamed up with TJP versus Jeff Cobb and Rocky Romero, and he stole the pin at the end by rolling up Rocky Romero, and then Jeff Cobb got in the ring. It didn't look like Jeff Cobb really did anything, and Carl Fredericks pushes him, and they get into a scuffle here. And after the match in the backstage, Carl Fredericks was talking about how he doesn't like how everybody joins a faction, and everybody wants to follow somebody else, and he says that he's the alpha, and he's not gonna let anybody else lead him, and he's going to be the alpha male. So very interesting, and a huge, like, in such a short time, character build. It seems like he is going to be kind of the cocky, I'm better than you type of character at this point.
Yeah, first off, I would like to say that Carl Frederick's look is looking a little like Stardust Genius Naito mixed with Ultimate Warrior. But yeah, Carl Fredericks, he seems to be getting a big push. If New Japan were to establish a face for their America brand, Carl Fredericks is definitely going to be that guy.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and he is of Native American heritage as well, and that kind of plays up in his look as well. That he's kind of wearing a feather earring.
yeah, that's accurate too. And the tassels too.
Right. So
That
his look is very. I didn't even put together the comparison that you did. It just looked like more of a. He's definitely taking part of it, or displaying his Native American heritage. And one thing about Carl Fredericks is that he is definitely on the old side for a graduating young lion.
yeah,
He's
he's
30
like
years old.
yeah, he's 30 years old. Not as old as Kitamura, but still pretty old.
Especially when you have guys like Watto, who has come back from excursion and he is 23 now. I mean, Okada was what, like 24 when he 23, 24 when he came back. So we have guys that had gone through excursion come back to New Japan before their 25th birthday, and he's already 30, just now getting out of the Young Lion program.
Yeah, I believe Evil's around the 30 age too, and he's just come and he came back from excursion like 5 years ago.
Right.
So
So yeah, around 25. So he's definitely on the older end. So it would make sense that they kind of already shoot him up. He was already wrestling before entering the Young Lion program. So he did have
yeah,
he debuted back in 2015. But even that, starting at 25, is a little later than some. Not as late as others, but
yeah,
he's not. It's not. He's going into basically what is normally prime years right now. So it would make sense that they kind of strap a rocket to him a bit, and he does have a decent amount of experience at this time, wrestling for about 5 years. So,
mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was night one, or episode one, and then the next episode it opened up with Jeff Cobb talking to Kevin Kelly, and Cobb was speculating that Fredericks attacked him last week because basically has a chip on his shoulder, and after getting out of the Young Lions program, and that he wants to make a name for himself on the back of Jeff Cobb, and Jeff Cobb is not interested in letting that happen. There wasn't a ton more to the story on this particular episode. It was a few matches between some guys that I had not heard of before. So, of course, I believe we had TJP on this episode as well. But other than that, we had Russ Taylor versus the DKC. Neither of which I have heard of before. Have you?
I haven't heard of these guys until they were announced for this tour.
And then same the second match of the night. There was only two matches on most of these shows except for the final night. We had TJP versus Danny Limelight. TJP, of course, picked up the win there with the Mamba Splash. But so we have four guys that I'm not sure if they're going to be taking part in regular New Japan shows, or they're just pulling them in because that's all they had access to. It's not like I haven't heard of these guys, so I'm guessing they have not worked with ROH. So I'm curious what the connection to New Japan is with these guys, or are they over on Major League Wrestling? Because MLW seems to have a relationship with New Japan these days as well.
No, these guys are not with MLW, but just listening to the commentary, like I'm pretty sure like the three guys, like Limelight, DKC, and Taylor, TJP's already a big name in wrestling, and he already does some New Japan, and he's been doing New Japan for about a year now, so that makes sense.
And he was in the originally LA dojo as well, so he had worked New Japan long before he came back on this stint as well.
Yeah, for sure. But with DKC, Taylor, and Limelight, I'm pretty sure they all took. I'm pretty sure they were all participants in the LA dojo tryouts or the dojo camps and stuff. And these guys seem to be the ones that impressed, and they eventually got their kind of cup of tea in New Japan per se when they were booked onto these shows. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Okay, so these are kind of the guys who didn't go through the full dojo experience, but kind of did some camps or at least tried out, or they were beyond need of the dojo or something along those lines. It seems.
Yeah, because like Russ Taylor's a veteran. Russ Taylor and like DKC, I think they've been in the business for a while.
Okay.
And Danny Limelight might be like a bit a hair too, like, you know, I don't know. I don't think like Danny Limelight made it into the young line cut, or
Right.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so interesting how they're going to utilize these guys going forward after everything starts to open up and we kind of get back into some normalcy whenever that deems to happen. Going into night 3, there was not a ton as far as storyline progression here, but we did have the New Japan debut of Filthy Tom Lawler versus Rocky Romero. This was mostly a grappling and striking match for the most part, with Tom Lawler choking out Rocky Romero with a rear naked choke in the end. I have not actually seen Tom Lawler wrestle before. I know he was a former MLW champion. I hear him over on the Wrestling Observer once in a while. And I have to say, I kind of giggled a little bit that his shorts have a jean short print on them.
Yeah. I was actually watching Carl Fredricks' Instagram live that he did with that he and like all the LA Dojo guys were on, and I'll kind of quote Alex Coughlin here. Oh, so when I wrestled Tom Lawler, his Daisy Dukes smelled like shit. So they were stinky, and yeah, and so that's just something to say about his ring gear. But for the talent that he does show, he looked like a beast in this match. Definitely seems like a guy that would lean towards the heel side of New Japan. I'd like to see him like wrestle against the guys in Japan, like
Yes.
Suzuki and all that.
Definitely.
Yeah, and if he were to join a faction, I think he might be good for Suzuki-gun, just because of the style he wrestles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because Suzuki-gun is definitely more of a place where like technical wrestling and all that kind of stuff is more like appreciated, while Bullet Club's more like, you know, Bullet Club,
yeah,
heelish.
Yeah, that would probably be the best fit for him. That'd be great if he could kind of like fight Suzuki first, and then Suzuki invites him in after he kicks Suzuki's ass or something like that.
Yeah, like Lawler just like kicks Suzuki's ass, and then Suzuki, and then they just stare each other down. Suzuki gets up, calls the rest of the boys down, hands him a t-shirt, and then they just do the Ichiban pose in the ring. That would be a cool angle.
That would be great. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Tom Lawler in some more New Japan stuff, and especially in Japan, if Americans can ever get over there again. We also had on this show Mysterioso and the DKC versus Carl Fredericks and Clark Connors. Carl Fredericks picks up the win here with the MD. So there wasn't anything huge that happened in this match. Fredericks was pretty aggressive during this, but after the match is kind of when the big thing happens. While they're celebrating, having their arms raised, Jeff Cobb runs out, takes out Fredericks, and Clark Connors tries to attack Cobb as well, but he gets flattened pretty quick. So. And then backstage, Cobb's like, no, I'm not going to let Fredericks make a name off of me, because I'm going to make a name for myself in New Japan.
Yeah.
And then the last night of the Lions Break Collision, we had Tom Lawler versus Alex Coughlin, and pretty decent match, lots and lots of grappling here, and Tom Lawler finished it off with it kind of looked like it was supposed to be a crucifix pin, but he didn't have his far arm. But that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
Then we had Mysterioso versus Danny Limelight. That was over in 4 minutes. Nothing to speak of there. And we had again Rocky Romero and Russ Taylor versus TJP and Clark Connors. TJP picks up the win after hitting the detonation kick on Russ Taylor. And then the culmination of the Lion Break collision shows, we have Carl Fredericks versus Jeff Cobb. This was a pretty hard-hitting match. They laid into each other quite a lot. Jeff Cobb was bleeding by the end of this, but he picks up the victory over Carl Fredericks to kind of put him in his place a little bit, that with Tour of the Islands. Afterwards, Jeff Cobb was talking backstage and saying that, you know, he's gunning for making a name for himself in New Japan, and he wants to be the alpha of New Japan. And he basically puts down Carl Fredericks a little bit, that, you know, boy needs to be put back in his place a little bit.
Yeah. I honestly thought that Carl Fredericks was gonna go over in this one, and he was gonna be made look strong because of the push. But it seems like they're gonna go for more character development with him and stuff like that. I also noticed that the Shibata influence is strong in like Fredericks.
Yep.
Along with the other LA Dojo guys, but
they definitely. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. But Fredericks definitely like showed it here, and Cobb put him over for it in the promo right after.
Yep.
Yeah.
They mentioned it a ton on commentary as well, how much Shibata has played into Carl Fredericks' development.
Yeah. So it like the fruit of Shibata's work is being prospered and.
You still there? All right, well, I'm going to continue on for the moment while we get Josh back, hopefully. And we'll move over on to New Japan Road prior to the Sengoku Lord event. For the most part, we had a lot of matches that just set up the show. We had Kojima and Tenzhon versus Yota, Tsuji, and Yuyu, Mora. This was your basic Young Lions match here. And actually, Yota Tsuji had to be pulled from Sengoku Lord and the Summer Struggles because of possible COVID exposure, as well as Honma. He had to be pulled from the shows for the same reason, but as of this morning, they have both been cleared for that, so they will be back in action. It will be tomorrow morning for me, but that show is not being televised, so night 3 of the Summer Struggle is not being televised on New Japan World, but Fridays is. We also had a match of Gabriel Kidd, Taguchi, Honma, and Makabe versus Sho, Yoshihashi, Toriano, and Tomohiro Ishii. We have Yoshihashi coming back, so he is back in action after what looked like to be a serious knee injury, but it seems not to have been, so I'm not even sure what the story around that is. And Josh, are you back?
Oh, yep, I'm back.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm not sure what the story around the injury for Yoshihashi was, if it was just some weird tweak and maybe it was just a sprain or something like that, but he is back here less than 15 days later, so he seems to be okay. He didn't seem to have a hitch in his giddy up, so he seemed to be okay. But for the most part, this was a typical prelim match here.
Mm-hmm.
We had Sonata and Shingo Takagi versus Doki and El Desperado, and this is going to continue on because Shingo Takagi and El Desperado have been going after each other a bit here because El Desperado wants the shot at the Never Openweight Championship, which he gets at Sengoku Lord. So here we just have that. We also have another one. We have a Chaos faction versus Bullet Club faction. This is continuing on Kazuchika Okada and Hiroki Goto versus Gedo and Yujiro Takahashi. This just continues to further on to build up the match the next night or the next show of Okada and Takahashi. And then what else do we have here? We have Suzuki-gun, which of Kanemaru, Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., and Taichi versus Kota Ibushi, Tanahashi, Nagata, and Master Wato. And actually, Master Wato took the pin in this match, which I was not expecting to happen. And it was from Kanemaru, no less.
Yeah, Wato kind of looked like a geek in this match,
right?
Yeah, he did. It's like he did some things, and then Suzuki like just got him in a hold, and Suzuki and Kanemaru just beat the living crap out of him, and just made him look even more like a meme than he already is already.
Right. Welcome to New Japan, and here you go. We're gonna kill you off like right away.
Yeah, welcome back. Here's your blue-haired gimmick, and here's your ass whooping by Suzuki and Kanemaru.
And then lastly, we had an LIJ faction versus Bullet Club faction. We had Bushi, Tetsuya Naito, and Hiromu Takahashi versus Taiji Ishimori, Dick Togo, and Evil. And Evil here got the win over Bushi with Everything is Evil. And other than that, there wasn't a ton out of this match either, but we still have, of course, Evil betraying LIJ, and that's going to continue on because Hiromu Takahashi faces Evil at Sengoku Lord.
Yeah. I kind of love how they started the match off with Hiromu attempting to play mind games along with everyone else's reaction, because Hiromu unzipped the jacket and it was revealed that he was wearing a Bullet Club tee. And then like Naito and Bushi were like, "What? You too?" And then the whole crowd was like, "Eh, eh." And then like Hiromu just kind of like played around with a bit, doing the whole Bullet Club handgun thing, pointing it at them and then pointing it at Evil. And then LIJ got the jump from the start. Yeah, so overall I thought it was a really good 6-man tag to build for this match. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to say that Dick Togo is impressive for someone who is 50, going on 51. And Evil looked pretty good in this match as well. And, yeah, the Evil Dick Soldiers got the win at the end, so that's all I got to say.
All right, moving on to Sengoku Lord, we open up the show with Taiji Ishimori destroying a young lion, Yuya Uemura, in the end finishing him off with the yes lock. Uemura continues to look good. He still went 8 minutes with Taiji Ishimori, so not bad there. And overall, Uemura is impressive. I'm curious how he's going to go after he goes out on an excursion and comes back, especially because of the size too.
Yeah.
He was so much bigger than Taiji Ishimori.
Yeah, that's true. But Ishimori is also like 5'3".
Right.
So,
but he is like, he's a really built guy for 5'3", so it always makes him look a little taller.
Yeah, that's true.
Then we had a match of Taguchi, Kojima, and Makabe versus Gabriel, Kid, Yano, and Ishii. Again, this is your typical opener. Gabriel Kidd, of course, ate the pin here from Togi Makabe, but again, the Young Lion is always made to look pretty decent during this match. But other than that, there wasn't a ton to speak of here.
Yeah. Other than the Kid Makabe exchanges being really good, and the singles match being due between them, there's nothing much here.
The next match, we have a break from the LIJ Bullet Club rivalry here, and we have an LIJ faction against a Chaos faction. We have Sho, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto versus Bushi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito. In the end, Sanada actually gets the tap-out victory over Sho with the skull end. One strange thing, though, is why is Naito beating up the ref?
Naito's pissed. He's angry that the first guy that he led into his stable or his little circle stabbed him in the back and took his title, so he's reasonably pissed.
Yeah, but he's beating up on the ref. I think it was Marty Asami or Kenta Santo. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah, I don't know. Naito is, Naito and refs don't have the best relationship.
Yeah, so seems a little heelish though, and I'm thinking LIJ should be heading more towards the face end, but we will see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the kind of stuff that got Naito over. So
true.
Yeah,
being a little unhinged and crazy.
Yeah.
Then we have a 10-man tag here. We have Master Wato, Tenzhon, Nagata, Kota Ibushi, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus a Suzuki-gun faction of everybody in Suzuki-gun. Doki, Kanemaru, Minoru Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., and Taichi. This really comes down to the tag titles that Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi are holding over beating them from Dominion from Kota Ibushi and Tanahashi, and it doesn't seem like this rivalry is over yet. And will we see another match between these
from
two?
The looks of it, it does not look like this rivalry is over.
I'm curious when the next match will take place.
Yeah, hello?
Announced. Yeah, I'm here. Maybe you can't hear me. But I'm curious when the next time this match will actually take place, given they have already announced a few big matches for the show in Jingu, which is already 3 major matches. So I'm not sure if the tag match is actually going to take place there or not, or if they're going to push that out to whatever their next big show is, which is usually it's Power Struggle, right? In September.
Yeah.
So we'll see, because they're gonna have Power Struggle right before the G1 starts, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it might be around there, but I think like they might just have the tag titles go on into one of their Corkin shows because they have like a lot.
That's true. Yeah. Or they could. I was gonna say they could put it at the G1 finals, but that's like 2 months out, so that'd be a little far.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they put it in one of the Summer Struggle shows when they hit Kurikan. That would kind of make sense to make a larger card for a Kurikan show.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Kazuchika Okada versus Yujiro Takahashi. This match was okay, but you can clearly tell we have such a skills gap between the two. In the end, Okada picks up the victory with the Cobra Clutch, which they are now calling the Money Clip, apparently.
The Money Clip?
I mean, because it's not really a Cobra Clutch, so I don't know why they were calling it a Cobra Clutch, because it's a variation of. So giving it a new name is probably at least a good idea, because they're not calling it what it actually is. So
yeah.
Well, all in all, I thought the match was all right, but it just didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, it was an okay match at best, but I can tell that they tried that. This was just like Yujiro versus Goto at the New Japan Cup. They tried, but it didn't really work to their satisfaction, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we move on to the Never Openweight Championship, El Desperado versus Shingo Takagi. I thought this match was pretty fun. The real story of the match here was Desperado attacking Shingo's knee and trying to submit him with the numero dos. Because this starts off really early. Desperado attacks the knee with a chair right in front of the ref, may I add. And this causes Shingo, he's pretty much limping and favoring the knee the entire match. Shingo survives a few numero dos attacks, but he can either power out of them somehow or get to the ropes. Desperado actually kicks out of a Made in Japan, but eventually falls to Last of the Dragon. Not sure why Desperado would even be given this match, considering he's only had one victory all year.
I think.
And they said it during commentary that he only had one victory this year.
But he did pick up all those multi-man tag victories throughout the whole New Japan Cup.
Sure. I guess you could go that way.
Yeah, so... And he was getting them over heavyweights, too, so I guess that's a way of justifying his title opportunity. And, I just thought that this was a good title match. Desperado really proved that he can hang with the heavyweights, and he might move up somewhat soon. That wouldn't be too big of a that would be a pretty big possibility.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the G1 this year. Especially if they cannot get some people in from any foreigners in. But I mean, he is sitting at 200 pounds, so he's a little shy of the typical heavyweight cutoff, but not by a ton. So he's at 90 kilos instead of 100. So he's definitely big enough to hang. I mean, Will Ospreay, he was in the G1 last year, and I think he weighed 10 pounds less than Desperado does right now.
Yeah, at the time, because
at the time, yes. Will Ospreay's at 225 now. He's put on a ton of muscle over this break here.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Sorry to take the glory away.
Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it, man. So another thing I noticed is that Shingo sold the leg really well in this match. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'd just like to point that out there.
Yeah, I mean, he was selling it the entire time from that first shot to the knee from the chair. There was a bunch of spots where, the knee would buckle on him when he tried to pick El Desperado up for some sort of slam or anything like that. So he was definitely selling it a lot the whole time. It played into his ability to perform moves. So definitely good on that. Selling an injury through an entire match is something you don't see a lot of these days, and I was happy for it to happen here.
Yeah.
And then next up, we had the final match of the evening. We had Hiromu Takahashi versus Evil for the double championship of the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championships. We have Dick Togo coming down to the ring with Evil. Evil has gotten rid of the tutu and is going with pants now, so looks a lot better. And a little different, I would think that Gato would tend to be the handler of the Bullet Club guys, so maybe we're going to have, Gato will be Jay White's guy, and Dick Togo is Evil's spoiler. Something along those lines. And then, of course, Dick Togo gets involved here or there. In the end, though, he is out of the match for a considerable amount of time, but ends up playing into the finish. Hiromu, at one point, gives Evil a powerbomb onto Togo, who is on the outside. And then Hiromu hits this crazy senton off the top rope to a pile of Togo, Evil, and a Young Lion on the floor. We have Hiromu hitting the Dynamite Plunger for a 2 count at one point, and we have Evil starting to target the neck near around the 20-minute mark. This match actually went like 33 minutes, which I think is a bit long. Hiromu keeps collapsing near this point, like he's completely exhausted or completely out of it. Red Shoes is trying to check on him. Evil basically gets involved every time Red Shoes is trying to evaluate Hiromu, but then Hiromu gets like this burst of energy and he runs Evil back first into an exposed turnbuckle, then puts on D, but Evil fights out of it, but then Hiromu hits a flatliner. And then we have some shenanigans coming up. We have Evil blocking the ref, and he tries to do a back kick low blow, but Hiromu managed to avoid it. And then Hiromu hits the running buckle driver, which usually sets up the time bomb, but the ref gets pulled out at the count of 2 by Dick Togo. Not sure how this is not a DQ. And then Dick Togo jumps into the ring and starts beating on Hiromu. Evil and Togo hit the Magic Killer, and Togo goes to the top rope, but Hiromu pushes Evil into the rope, causing Togo to crotch himself, and then Hiromu hits Everything is Evil on Evil, but he could not follow that up, but he picks him up and hits the buckle driver into the exposed turnbuckle, and then hits a time bomb for a 2 count, and then Hiromu hits time bomb 2, but we have Dick Togo pulling the ref here. Wow, I totally messed up. Okay, so the last time it was actually the ref got taken out by an accidental Hiromu splashed into the corner as Evil moved out of the way. Here is where Dick Togo pulled out the ref. I apologize. I just had it written kind of weird. Here is where Dick Togo pulls out the ref, and he gets in the ring to strangle Hiromu. Evil hits a low blow. Togo chokes Hiromu with the garrote, and then Evil hits Darkness Falls, and then Everything is Evil. And I thought the match went way too long, and this finish fell so flat because it was so slow and boring for like the last minute that Hiromu got choked out, and then he just hits Darkness Falls, and Hiromu's like dead, and he hits Everything is Evil and gets the pin.
Yeah, I thought that this was a good main event. I definitely thought that this was better than Takahashi versus Naito, and that not Takahashi versus Naito, Naito versus Evil. Yeah, Hiromu looked like an absolute star in this. He was, and what made it look even stronger is because of the Togo spot. We wouldn't have known if Evil would have kicked out of Time Bomb 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think Hiromu. I liked how they made it look like Takahashi's was robbed, and I'm confident to say that Hiromu's going to be a main event player down the line, whether it be junior, whether he's going to be like a junior heavyweight that wrestles heavyweights more frequently, or he just moves up to heavyweights in general somehow.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think Evil looked that bad in this either, and he did his job as a heel, and he got good, and he was able to draw some heat from the crowd, so yeah.
Yeah, I think we've seen a bunch of Evil matches that kind of all go the same route at this point. Just in the past, 2 months here, where we have a ref bump, we have a low blow behind the ref's back, we have people getting involved. It's starting to feel played out, and like they need something else to do, because it really takes me out of the match, especially when they have like a huge interference spot twice. They have one like right in the middle of the match, and then they have one for the finish of the match. It's like, pick your spot here and just do it at the end, and it won't be as what's the word I'm looking for here?
Dry.
No, not that. It's a sort of like, oh, now of course I just had I had the word excessive, but not excessive. Anyways, and then I think the biggest thing though was post match is Taiji Ishimori runs out and he attacks Hiromu. And right as Evil and Dick Togo are going to get into the action, Naito runs out a bit late to stop said attack. And then he has a stare down with Evil, and he grabs the mic, and Naito basically tells Evil that he is just renting those titles for now.
Seems like Naito is going to be showing a lot more aggression this time around versus Evil. And I am for that. I have a feeling that the title match that's set up for them at Jingu is going to be a lot different than the one they had at Osaka Joe. That's just my gut feeling.
Yeah, I would hope that Naito does the smart thing and has one of his guys second him out. If it's not going to be Hiromu because he's already in a title match. So if he has even just Bushi as his second, is that all that's left? Oh, and Shingo. So I guess
and Sonata.
Oh yeah,
Sonata.
Jeez, I keep forgetting how many people are actually in LIJ. So you could have Sonata back him up. He could have Shingo Takagi back him up to be his enforcers a little bit and keep some of the Bullet Club guys out of the match. And then we can see how it goes from there. So as you alluded to, we had some huge announcements from New Japan overnight, for us at least. I think it was noon for them, but it was like midnight for me. We had quite a few things come out. It's announced that the show on Friday, it will be Friday morning for those of us in North America, that the headliner of night 4 of Summer Struggle is going to be Suzuki versus Nagata. So yes, please, I will definitely take watching that match again. But then we have let's get the title matches out of the way. We have it set up. It's going to be Hiromu Takahashi to defend the junior heavyweight title against Taiji Ishimori at Sengoku, from Sengoku Lord because of the post-match attack. This will be at the Jingu show. And then we also have getting a rematch, which is rare to see. We have a rematch of Naito and Evil for the double championship as well at Jingu. And then what else do we have? It was also announced that the IWGP rules state that titles must be defended every 6 months, but they are not going to count the time of the state of emergency towards that 6 months. So that's going to, one, set up why Hiromu was not stripped of the title, because I don't think he actually defended the title until after the 6 month point. So I think that's why they brought that out. But also we have Moxley. He is the current U.S. championship champion, and he has not defended the title since, I think, 2 shows before they hit the or 2 days before the state of emergency hit back in February. So he defended it at the end of February against Suzuki. So take out the state of emergency time. So that pushes out. They need to figure out what to do with Moxley in the next 3.5 months or so. So they don't have to strip him of the championship just yet. But I'm curious, what do you think they're going to do as far as the U.S. championship goes? Do you think they're going to hope that he can come into Japan to defend the title? Or do you think they might try to work something out that he can defend the title on U.S. soil against somebody who's already in the U.S. and try to work out a deal for AEW to allow that to happen?
So one, I actually don't. I actually think that like both of those things are going to be hard to do, because what the current way things are right now with America and Japan and being like epicenters of like coronavirus, or like being like hotspots, I guess, for the whole pandemic. I don't think like there's gonna be any travel like that happening anytime soon. And as for the other thing, the AEW thing, I'm not sure if a deal could really be worked out to get Moxley on for even one show, because of just because of how things are, and how both sides are basically like better off working independently and stuff like that. But I think what they could do is and it might sound a bit crazy for me to say this, but they might have to strip Moxley of the title again.
Yeah.
And then like have like the New Japan guys that are in the US right now, just like have a mini tournament to see who becomes the champ. And by the time that travel from US to Japan is back, I think Moxley might have his rematch per se against the interim IWGP US champion, to see who's the real US champ and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how hard it would be to work out something with AEW in the current state of things, but because I think kind of the main thing of them saying you can't work a independent show in the US with television, and you keep cutting out on as far as being able to hear me.
Yeah. I'm back.
Okay, as far as that goes with AEW saying he can't work anything in the US with television, I think since there is not going to be a crowd, and they could do it taped, so it's not live, and it's not like they have any US television. They have streaming, and that's about it. Obviously, he wasn't allowed. I think the reason why he wasn't allowed on the G1 show in Texas is because it was going to be live on Access. But if they are no longer on Access anymore, so New Japan has 0 US television. So that might change things as far as that goes. So it might not actually be in violation of his AEW contract to wrestle in the US physically, but he's not going to be on US television, so I think it might not be a problem.
Yeah, that I didn't really think of that, so it could be up there.
Yeah, so it could be he does defend it on US soil. So they have some options, at least currently, because they have no US television anymore, and I think that was the hold up from the last time they did stuff in the US, is they had US television, and they no longer do. All right, so at least that clarifies that. I didn't know how long their rule was to you had to defend the title in so long, because obviously they go a lot longer between title defenses than most companies do. Well, actually, let's scrap that. As WWE does, because AEW only does a title defense every month or two. So that I was curious, but so they have 6 months, 6 month required. So also announced was something very strange, and I'm curious how this is going to go. They announced basically a King of Pro Wrestling title, and we're using title as in the prefix of your name. So if you're Duke, you're Duke such and such, that type of title. And basically it's a stipulation title where the wrestlers will propose a stipulation for the match. So we'll have 2 stipulations, and then the fans will vote on which of the 2 they want, and that is what the match will be contested under. They're going to start out with 8 wrestlers in 4 singles matches on August 26th. So those will be the first ones, and then the winners of those will meet in a 4-way at Summer Struggle in Jingu, and then the winner of that match will defend what I guess we'll call the provisional title, and until the end of the year, well, there'll be one final match, and the winner then gets a trophy, and then they're planning on starting it all over again the next year. So every match is going to have some sort of stipulation offered by the participants and voted on by the fans. So they said it could be anything. We could be seeing 2 out of 3 falls matches. We could see cage matches, ladder matches, no DQ matches. So for a promotion that rarely does even a 3-way, they are now going to be pulling in a lot more gimmick matches if we have this going forward.
Yeah, my thoughts on this is that it's an interesting idea because you wouldn't expect any of that from New Japan.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because that's not the Japanese promotion that you'd expect that from. That's kind of like stuff you'd expect from like DDT and like Big Japan, but now that I think about it, considering like the state of things right now, especially with New Japan, who is a Japanese, which are a Japanese wrestling promotion that brings in a lot of foreign talent, because they don't have access to like basically half their roster. They might have to like they have like less to work with, and they don't want it to like be repetitive. So I guess New Japan might be using this as a bit of an excuse to redo some feuds, but just adding the stipulation to it, just so it doesn't feel like you're just seeing the same match that you saw 2 months ago all over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think this is probably something to help pull in a bigger, basically non-Japanese audience. Because outside of Japan, the audience is very much, focused towards the American style of wrestling, or really the WWE of wrestling, because they are obviously the biggest promotion on the planet. So that style of wrestling is probably what most non-Japanese are exposed to. So starting to pull in some of these types of matches from what we see on US television shows might draw in a larger non-Japanese audience. Is that going to be a turnoff to the Japanese audience, though, or very much in the what's the word I'm looking for? Tradition of how New Japan is that going to be a problem for the Japanese fans?
I don't know, like because Japanese pro wrestling these days is like such a brand new audience. I cannot say for sure, but I could say I could be confident in saying that the purist or like the OG Japanese wrestling fans might be a bit turned off from this, but yeah, I guess it's just business. Business is business, and New Japan has to do what they have to do to keep things fresh in a sense.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the purists go, they're definitely going to be a generation back, because I mean, New Japan currently, I don't think until very recently didn't have any TV in Japan up until this year for quite a few years now. I don't think they had like a regular time slot. I think they landed on TV at like 2 a.m. once in a while, but I don't think they had any regular TV, and I think they do now. But even then, they still have such a weird schedule. It's not like they have a show that they do every week at the same time specifically for Japanese television. So there's this gap of people who have not even been seeing New Japan on television because it hasn't really been there. And I think one of the things with Japanese culture currently is they don't use streaming nearly as much as, say, the US and Europe does. And that obviously goes into the numbers of New Japan World, where the vast majority of subscribers are not in Japan. So that's kind of an interesting look into that. So I think a lot of the the Japanese fans probably have a much heavier exposure to the WWE product than they would for a lot of the Japanese promotions. You think that's the case?
It might be, but again, I don't live in Japan or like or know too much about like or know too much about like the entertainment culture per se there, but I'm not sure. But I just wanna see like what comes out of this, and if and like is the KOP title gonna take away from what draws fans to New Japan in the first place, or if it's just gonna end up being a big failure.
Yeah, that's true. But I think a lot of things that pull people towards New Japan is the lack of the campiness of the horrendous storylines and promos, and not specifically the match types. I think the booking could turn them off, depending how the booking plays out. But as long as they continue a similar booking style, I don't think the match type will be a detriment to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now that I think about it, as long as Gato is still in the writer's chair, then it's fine.
So let's see. New Japan is popular in Japan, although WWE is more popular in Japan than New Japan is in. Oh, that's just in the US. So it seems that WWE is pretty popular in Japan, but not as popular as New Japan is. So, but yeah, we will see. And I think this could just be a ploy for, pulling in a bigger non-Japanese audience. And as long as it doesn't hurt the Japanese audience, it's probably going to work out okay for them. All right, and last up, we just had a couple shows which I have not watched yet, but even just looking at the results, we had the Summer Struggle shows. Did anything overly pop out about these? They're pretty much all matches that are going to be setting up future things, or they're just your typical kind of house show, as we see that they aren't even going to bother airing tomorrow morning's show on New Japan World at all. So it was very house showy.
Yeah. For the most part, it was a lot of it was a lot of what we would have seen in New Japan Road. Except a thing to note is that in the second night of Summer Struggle is that it looks like they're going to be going with a Hiromu shoulder injury angle against Taiji Ishimori for the junior title. So,
right, so, yeah. That, I did hear about that he's starting to attack the shoulder in their multi-man matches and whatnot.
Yeah, like there's even like one spot early in the tag match where Ishimori like attacked the shoulder for a bit, and then Hiromu really sold the injury to the point where there's like there's kind of a break in the match, and Naito had to pull Hiromu out of the ring, and Naito and the ring doctor were checking on Hiromu while Sanada was buying time by tagging in and squaring off with Ishimori.
I guess it'd actually be Bushi was in those matches. Sanada was in the second one.
Yeah, Sanada was in the second one.
All right. Yeah, so it's kind of a lot of repeat matches with maybe one guy swapped out, because the Bullet Club faction was actually the same. They had Taiji Ishimori, Dick Togo, and Evil versus on night one it was Hiromu, Bushi, and Naito, and then on night two it was Hiromu, Sanada, and Naito. So they just changed out Sanada and Bushi just on opposite nights. So. And on night two, Taiji Ishimori submitted Hiromu with the yes lock.
Yeah. Again, that was also the same match that showed Hiromu selling the shoulder injury and getting checked on the ring doctor. So it kind of made sense to do that. And normally in New Japan, it would be the challenger like getting the pin or the submission on the champion to kind of legitimize legitimize that his shot per se. So I guess that was that for the junior title match.
It looks like they're still continuing on the heavyweight tag titles. Kota Ibushi and Tanahashi versus Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. They were on opposite sides 2 nights in a row again. Same with, it looks like they're going to continue out the Okada and Yujiro Takahashi storyline, since they again faced each other on opposite sides both nights so far as well.
Yeah, and I also think that there's that like some of the singles feuds that we're seeing right now could also be building, could also be seen to be building towards the qualifiers for the KOPW title. So
true, yeah, because even tomorrow morning we say the exact same match once again. Sho and Okada versus Gedo and Yujiro Takahashi. So that's 3 shows in a row with the exact same match. Again, we have LIJ versus Bullet Club. We have Dick Togo, Taiji Ishimori, and Evil versus Bushi, Hiromu, and Naito. So that's happening again tomorrow morning. And then on Friday, we are going to get that same match again. Sho and Okada versus Gedo and Yujiro Takahashi. And again, we have Dick Togo, Taiji Ishimori, Evil versus Bushi, Hiromu, and Naito. But we get to cap it off with Yuji Nagata versus Minoru Suzuki, which I'm looking forward to seeing again.
Same here. And I'd like to suspect for that match that whoever wins that match, probably Suzuki, is going to challenge Shingo for the Never title at a Summer Struggle show. Because Shingo doesn't have a challenger at the moment.
Yeah, and even looking at the schedule and the past 2 days, I can't figure out who they would even be trying to line up, because him and Sonata or he and Bushi faced off against different opponents. So we have Yoshihashi and Goto on one night, and then we had Makabe and a Young Lion on another night. So yeah, it doesn't look like they have a clear direction on where they're going with Shingo. So it would make sense if Suzuki makes a run at the Never Openweight Championship, like you said. So could be interesting to see there. So It looks like we're going to have probably a slow August, because we're just going to have the Summer Struggle shows. So I don't expect anything super big to happen out of these shows coming up. We'll just have kind of these one-off headlining singles matches like we have with Suzuki and Nagata, but it's going to be a lot of the same matches, lots of multi-man matches, which is very typical. It's a very strange year because usually a G1 would be going on right now, so I'm not sure if they're just trying to figure out how to get to the G1 as efficiently as possible and not kind of wear out their guys, considering they have a limited roster and cannot get any foreigners in. So I don't expect too much to happen until the Jingu show, which is a month away at this point.
Yes, it is a month and a day away. So
yeah, so we have, let me check the schedule real quick. We just have a lot of Summer Struggle shows going up. It looks like probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, about 16 shows. But again, then they're not going to be anything huge, I don't think. So we might not even get back to you guys until after that show, unless something huge happens, which I doubt it will. Do you got anything to lay out for us here before we call it an evening?
I'd also like to bring up that New Japan is also having another US series called NJPW Strong. So
yes, I forgot about that. So that's going to be on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So it's basically going to replace the Lions Break Collision show, but we don't know what it's about yet.
Yeah, they're going to be having a presser for it, I think, on the 31st or August 1st or the 31st. I'm not entirely sure. It's going to be on the evening of the 31st because it's going to be on August 1st in Japan. So, well,
if it's at noon, that's going to be like midnight for me. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be very interesting. I would. It would be cool if they kind of put on a weekly show that just advanced storylines and stuff like that. But we will see how that actually turns out. Is it going to be North American based? Do you know, or is it going to be New Japan proper?
It's gonna be from the looks of it. It's gonna be North American based because like they played the first teaser for it after Lions Break Collision.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, so that should be interesting. Maybe it's just I'm guessing they're going to try to pull in some of their bigger U.S. based talent into that. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Though I don't know how much U.S. based talent they actually have, because a lot of the guys are in Canada or Mexico. I don't even think there's a ton of U.S. based talent. Most of it's outside of the U.S., which is kind of funny, especially the UK.
Yeah, that is true. They do have Jay White, Kenta, David Finlay.
Well, Jay White's New Zealand.
He lives in Florida. Actually,
he lives in Florida now. Oh, I thought he went back to New Zealand when the pandemic hit.
Oh, he's from the looks of it, he's still in Florida.
Okay, well, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
So, should be a good one, should be interesting. All right, so before we wrap it up, anything else you want to discuss, or you can lay out where people can find you elsewhere?
Yeah. So I also have my own podcast going on for me, the R7 podcast. It's a variety podcast. We talk about like multiple topics, as I've said in previous reviews. But like the episode that's actually going to be coming out pretty soon is going to be a unique one per se. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, the link for the channel and podcast episodes is going to be in the bio, I assume. So yeah, please check it out.
Cool. And if you are listening to this as a podcast, we do the show live over on YouTube. So definitely head over to the YouTube channel. I also do small news clips over there when anything pops up and it's more than 5 seconds of content. So I talked about the announcement that just came out for New Japan, as well as covering stuff from Being the Elite and AEW Dark that it's going on right now while we're talking. Head over to there. And there was something I wanted to say and I totally spaced it. Oh man. I don't remember. If you are specifically here for New Japan stuff, definitely go over to the YouTube channel, because as soon as I schedule the live stream, because they don't do a regular weekly show or anything, it will let you know when I schedule it, so you will know in advance. I try to schedule it as far out as possible. I think we actually scheduled this one 2 weeks ago, so you would know. But other than that, we have some t-shirts. They just hit the printers. They just got back with me with pricing, so hopefully we'll have That's Wrestling t-shirts available in like the next week and a half. I'm going on vacation this weekend for a few days just to get away from everything, but when I come back, we will have some t-shirts available. So thanks everybody for listening to our review of New Japan going back a week or two. And my name is Eric LaRoche, and for Josh Luna, thanks for watching That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.